Hello, Modified Rabbit here. It's been a very long time since I've posted on here, but also, I'm just so frustrated, and I feel like I'm probably not the only one that's had this issue, and I know it's probably just not. I've not seen anything really much talked about it, like video wise or anything, and I definitely, clearly, there's nothing to help with this kind of thing. I've looked online, I've looked, through YouTube videos, and I have also recently made phone calls to the proper places that are supposed to be able to help, and they can't. So this is about taxes. Is the it is tax season, and in the U.S., it's just you have to fill out taxes, and I am on disability. For my agoraphobia, my autism. So I have mental disability, and it does make it really hard for me to understand certain things. And I do, I can understand it eventually. I just need extra help and to be able to ask questions so that I can get around to that. To getting, learning my way that, in order to understand it. And with taxes, the IRS has some stuff out there for people and everything, and little forms that tell you, they call them their instructions, but honestly, I don't think they're instructions meant for normal people. I'm pretty certain they're instructions meant for people that actually prepare taxes, like tax preparers and stuff, people that know that lingo, because even without the mental disability, even calling the IRS, which I'll get around to completely later, the lady in the IRS lady didn't even understand what she was reading. So I just feel like what I'm about to talk about seriously needs to change, and it ties in not only with disability, poverty, and everything, but the tax system as a whole being pretty flawed. I mean, we've got a lot of different various ways that our tax system is pretty flawed, but and depending on who you're talking to, you'll get a different view on that. But a serious one is the fact that people seem to be unable to do their own taxes properly, because it's just so hard to freaking understand, and there's no proper adequate help out there to help people understand. And even the IRS's forms for helping you understand are not meant for normal people. So it's just ridiculous, because the only people that are able to really good get their taxes done are people that have the money to go pay someone to do it. And that just isn't helpful for people that are on disability, that are in poverty, and stuff like that, especially if they're not going to get anything back. Then they end up paying hundreds of dollars to have a tax preparer do this and be like, yeah, you're not getting anything back, pay up, and they can't afford it, let alone if you're trying to start a business. So I know a lot of people there's plenty of people out there that are like, oh well, if you want a better life for yourself, then go start a business, blah blah blah. It's not that hard, you can do it with $100. It's okay, well, you still have to be able to understand and do all the things that are required of you to start a business. And it's depending on the business, it's not just $100 or whatever to start. You get that $100 is just for being on paper government wise to start, not any of the costs incurred to start the business. So for me, I started my little LLC last year, which I'm getting to the point to where it's man, it may not have been beneficial for me to actually register my business, which if the government wants people to register their businesses properly and actually know what people especially small businesses, they need to make this stuff easier. But I registered because I'm okay, well, this is what you're kind of supposed to do. It makes your business more legit and all that stuff. And I'm plus I'm on disability, so I need to properly, have everything informed, so that disability knows what's going on and everything. And, so which means I need to register my business and all that. And I, I'm on the disability where you don't get nearly as much as I can't. It's so confusing which one's which. There's one where you get it based on the work you've done throughout your life and everything, and being having the disability as I've one of the disabilities I'm on it for, I've had my whole life. I just haven't been able to, sadly. Like, my parents didn't care to like figure out what was going on with me and like my learning disabilities and stuff to actually get the diagnosis of autism and stuff like that. And and then there's, to where if you're on the spectrum well enough to where like I'm able to speak properly for the most part. I mean, I was pretty quiet as a kid and a teenager, but like I can articulate myself well enough, and everything, and I can behave well enough and all that stuff. So like people are just like, oh, you're fine, so they don't bother, even though it affects me severely in like my home life and stuff that they don't see. And like it affects me severely in stuff that like parents would see, but they don't, like they would rather just assume you're just not doing your homework because you don't want to or something, or you're just not testing right because you didn't study, and it's not because of a mental disability that causes you to be unable to like your brain function enough to do the the questions. Like literally, like my brain freezes up for testing. I have never tested well, no matter how good I know the information. It's just I will fail. I fail tests, and which is why I didn't do well in school, because I did my homework and I was fine with homework as long as I was kept on track with it, because I do have attention issues along with that. Like I don't have ADHD, but like a lot of stuff is shared between ADHD and autistic people. So, and I know we're going off the rant of the tax thing, but this is kind of important to know that like, while I do have that mental disability, I can still, like, I'm well enough to still attempt to fill out my taxes and to attempt to try and start a little business. I just need to be able to get enough help to help me understand certain things, like certain aspects and stuff, or it takes me extra long to do. Like it took me a whole month to like get my basic, very basic website built, because I don't learn well from videos and like stuff. I need someone, a live person, to be able to, answer questions, because like it's just the basic answers that people have in those videos or in instruction sheets or anything like that aren't enough for me for, with the way my brain works. I need to be able to ask questions because I know what questions I need to ask in order to understand, if they give me the right response anyways, in order to understand what, like, so I know what I need. It's just getting it from people in order to like, get what I need. It's just like, so I know what I need. It's just, so it's just, so I had a hard time holding down work for a lot of things. And there's even times, plenty of times where I did my best. And like with Amazon, I couldn't, because I do have chronic pain issues. I asked them for an accommodation, which is fairly simple. They have a rule. Everybody has to do at least one day a week loading trucks. Well, it was causing me to be out for days, and I only worked the weekends, like, and it was causing me to miss a lot of work because I would be stuck in bed in so much like agonizing pain, because doing the work in the trucks was just too taxing on me physically, especially with the living situation I was in at the time. And there was a lot of mold and stuff, low income and stuck in a slum and everything, and it was exacerbating the issues. So like I was like, please, can I not be on trucks? I would do anything else in the warehouse. I even went out of my way to learn 2 different things where you have to have special training that no other people didn't want to do, and they needed those people for. Like there are things that you needed more people for, because there's plenty of people that really like doing the trucks, because you just get to be there by yourself and just mindlessly load and unload the trucks. It's, if I didn't have my chronic pain issue, I would have enjoyed that job, like. So I went out of my way to try and help make the situation to where I'm like, okay, I feel like this is a nice trade-off, to where if I don't do the trucks that one day a week, I can do other work that they really need people in the positions for and nobody wants to do, and it should be fine, right? No. As soon as you ask for any sort of accommodation, Amazon fights you. Like they put me on unpaid leave for like over a month, while they were claiming they were reviewing my accommodation requests, and wouldn't let me come to work. And it was in hopes of, it was obvious it was in hopes that I'd quit. And I didn't. So when I came back, they had tried to deny my request and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, well, I need to fight that or whatever, please. Like I can't, whatever, And at that point, I had already missed a few days and had gotten my doctor's notes. But then I had ended up missing another day because they made me do trucks again. And so I was bringing in my doctor's note, and they're like, oh, well, you have to ask for, we only allow this many days. Because they had only told me when I was, missing days to just bring a doctor's note. They didn't say anything else. And they're like, oh, yeah, they waited until it was the last time, like after the last time you could do a doctor's note, I guess. And they're like, well, you're only allowed to do this many doctor's notes. And after that, you have to apply for an accommodation to be able to bring more doctor's notes to miss work. So I'm afraid we can't let you work anymore. And we need to recommend that you, they wanted me to quit. And I'm like, but I don't want to quit. I want to work. I'm like, I just want to, I just need this one little accommodation. I'm like, well, we can't now at this point. You broke these rules or whatever, and we can't, keep you. And we really want you to just, resign. And I'm like, no. So then I made them fire me. But like, it's just like, when it comes to like disabled people and stuff like that, it's just so hard because like places, while they have to hire disabled people and stuff, they can't like deny you based on disability. They can certainly make sure that you don't stay around, and that they are able to like fire you or make you quit or something, and then they just cycle through a whole bunch of disabled people. So then it looks like they're still okay with disabled people because they have them hired, but the government doesn't look at the fact that it's a super duper high turnover rate because they're either firing them for stupid reasons or like making it so hard on the disabled person that they have to quit. So this is like a really serious issue with this. And then there's the fact that, like I'm on disability. I don't want to have to be on disability, but I have not been able to hold down a job. I've tried so hard, and I've like wrecked my body worse trying to do so, like trying to like force my way through it anyways, and it's made things worse. So now it's like just and then it's like, so I'm on disability now, and I don't want to be on it forever while like the autism doesn't go away, and that's one of the things I'm on it for. So I technically could end up being on disability for who knows how long if I chose to just do that. I don't want to. I am on the disability that's not based on the income you had made over the years, so it's like far less than what you get on that version. And the version I'm on, the maximum amount that you could get is like $900. I get $6 a month to live on. And obviously, I don't want to continue with that if I don't have to. And since I can't hold down normal work, I'm like, well, what, I can do my artwork. I do well with it, and now there's lots of sites now, like printing places that you can, make a website and, basically do drop shipping where you design your own designs. I do all those by hand and everything. I come up with my own designs. I draw them on my tablet, or actually I do a lot of them by hand and then spiff them up on tablet. And then I will put them into, the print sites website thing, and then I come up with the pricing that I want and all that good stuff, and get that set up and put it onto my website so that people can order from there, and then the printers take care of printing it and shipping it. And I'm like, that should be easy enough for me to be able to attempt to start doing a little bit, start a business. And I'm like, I know this isn't going to be like, especially now with the economy and everything, this isn't going to be like I'm going to start making a whole bunch of money immediately type thing. It's going to take a lot of work. It does take a lot of work because I can't afford to pay someone to do all the social media stuff for me, to build the website, and so I have to do all of that with the mental disability I have, so it takes extra long for me to do certain things, and then also do the designs, which take a long time because I do them by hand. I don't do AI generated stuff, like that's a lot of stuff for one person to do, especially if you're mentally disabled, and everything. And it's just like, so I'm trying really hard to do this. I incur these costs, and while I didn't make enough to have to technically fill out like a whole bunch of tax form stuff for my business, if I want to get the tax credit from the costs that I incurred, which you really want to do when you start a business, because that can help you in the future when you do start making enough money for them to charge you taxes. Yet that tax credit you've accrued, this took me a long time to read all this stuff up too, like a lot. I try really hard, you guys. And like you can use that tax credit to offset the taxes that you owe, later on down the road. And I want that in case my business does thrive, because I do want it to, and I want to be able to eventually get off of disability. Like a lot of people want to be able to do that, but it's very hard because now we're getting into the thick of things, like the initial issue. I have to fill out not just my personal tax forms, but I need to fill out my tax forms for my LLC, which either can be attached to my personal tax forms or they end up being their own little thing. But either way, it's like they're still the same type of stuff you have to fill out. And so you got to do, like, I've got everything. I kept my records as best I can. I've got everything I need to fill out this tax stuff. But it gets on to the actual tax stuff, and like I get through like the very basics. You can't do TurboTax unless you want to pay some money, because once you get past the personal part, they want you to pay because, it's a business. You must have money, right? You can't, it's the same with going to a tax preparing place. So it's just like, so I'm like, okay, well, I need to figure out if there's like a free little thing. So I go on to the IRS, because I'm like, okay, well, if you need help with tax stuff, the IRS site is a good place to go, right? Okay, so I go on there. They have a couple of recommended. It takes a long time because like their stuff is like, the government websites are not set up very well, you guys. Like they are a lot of text, and a lot of like it's just all over the place. And then it's just like, you don't know where to start and everything. So it took a long time to find it, but I ended up finding recommended tax preparing sites that let you do your tax stuff for free, even if it's like little LLC stuff and everything, as long as you fall under the certain amount that you made for the year or something like that, which I did, because for my first year, I didn't start up the actual website until August, and like I only made, and this isn't profit, I only made in sales less than $300 in sales last year. And profit after paying, because like my fees for like the printers and everything like that, and the shipping to the printers comes after I get the money from my customers. So like after the $300, I take out all the amount that comes from the fees of the printing costs for the printers, and the fees of the shipping for the shipping costs from the printers to ship it off. So I ended up making less than $100 profit last year, because I don't, like, again, with the economy and the fact that like I just want to get started. I'm a little company. I'm not well known or anything. I have my prices set pretty much as low as I can without hurting myself, basically, to get started real good and everything. And the designs are nice and all that good stuff. It's just that getting myself out there again, like the social media and everything, it's hard, like to do all that stuff and get noticed and everything, and then also get past like the economy issues where people don't have as much money to spend, and they'd rather spend it on the big corporations where they can get a shirt for $5, and where I can't even get it printed for $5, let alone with the shipping and everything like that. So it's like, I can't charge less than 10, so it's just like, it's hard, to compete. So like, but I do my best. So I get on this site, and one of the recommended sites, and I'm filling this stuff out. I've got some of it done. I've got like part 1 and 2. I've got my personal stuff done. That's great, because I've actually done my own personal taxes before in the past, like on paper, when they didn't have an online site for you to do it at all, forever ago. And I get that part done. I get parts 1 and 2 on my Schedule C done, and I hit part 3, because like the main thing, like even though because I didn't make over a certain amount last year, I don't technically have to fill out certain parts of the tax forms for my LLC, but I want to, again, because I want to be able to have the tax credits from all the stuff that I had spent, trying to get started on my little business. I spent, my back pay on my disability, some of it on like a laptop to get started for my mid business, because I need to be able to, like, even if I'm hurting for the day and I can't go downstairs and sit in that computer chair for whatever. If I can sit up here in bed and actually work on my designs, I can attach it to my tablet to the laptop. I can do all the stuff I need to do online, all my social media posting and looking up of it, like I can do all that. So that was like a really big thing for me to get, some supplies for other things, because I do want to do more than just pre-printed stuff, because I can make a little more later in the future, crafting certain things occasionally, like having like special items where I only do like a one shot or something where I can make a little more money off of it. So like I bought a few things, slowly throughout the year last year, even before August, which some of that stuff you can write off, as long as it was certain things that you got and it was for your business. So, and you can only write off like a certain amount of stuff, but I'm under that amount, but it's still also enough, like a significant cost enough that I really want that tax credit, because it's over $2,000 worth of stuff that I throughout the year, to do that. And it also includes your cost for like the website. It's Shopify is like, for their basic thing is like $40 a month, so it's just like you get all those costs all together, and they accumulate a lot of stuff, and it's very costly. And I want to be able, like, if I'm going to do this, I want to be able to at least also take advantage of the tax credit stuff that I rightfully have a right to have. But I can't fill out this stuff properly because I don't understand the questions, like where to fill out what. And that's the main thing I'm trying to find in this Schedule C section, because somewhere in it is the part that you fill out all of your costs incurred, that like, the laptop and everything like that. And I'm on part 3, which is like the goods, like the cost of goods. But it seems like from the way it's showing as if it's just having to do like with your it does specifically mention like your inventory. And so I'm like, is the whole entire section for part 3 about inventory? Because like it doesn't specify certain things. It's asking for like, like your inventory amount at the start and the end of the year. And I'm like, but what do I put? Because I don't have inventory. The print place carries the inventory right now. And then it's like purchases made. And I'm like, is that purchases made for inventory, like for the product itself, and that's it? Or is this the part where I put in all of my purchases made for the business as a whole, like the laptop and everything? I don't understand. So I go and I'm like, okay, well, let's go back to the IRS website. Maybe I can figure this out. So I go to the IRS website, and they have, oh yeah, we got, like instruction forms, like, oh yay, okay, cool. I will go and look at this instruction form. Look at the instruction form. All of the lingo in the instruction form is tax preparer lingo, so I still don't understand what the fuck it wants, like, because like, oh, this is where you put this, and it's like weird tax lingo. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like there's no layman's terms, there's nothing like that. And like the site that I'm on that the IRS recommended, the way they have it set up is kind of similar to how TurboTax has it, to where it's not flat out the form and you just fill it all out on there. They have their own little questions, the way they want to word it. And then it puts it into the form at the end after you answer that. So like, also I have no idea which part of this I look up on the IRS how-to thing, even, let alone if I can't understand the lingo that it's giving. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe YouTube videos, can't find a damn YouTube video that explains this well enough. And then like when it comes to state stuff, it's even worse, because you get lucky if you can even find your specific state. The only state that I could find state stuff for, like I could find like California, like just major states, and that's it. Like I live in Kentucky. I couldn't find anything for filling out like the specific stuff for my business stuff for Kentucky, like state shit. Like it took me a long time to figure all that stuff out, and like it was hard. So like I'm like, okay, now I don't know what to do now. So I'm like, I try to contact the website of the place that I'm using to fill this stuff out. I'm like, I don't understand what this means. And they're like, well, we can't help you with that. We're not allowed. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I just need to understand that there's like a conflict of interest, like we're not allowed to help with this. We just provide the tools for you. I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. They're like, well, you can try and call the IRS and see if they can help. Okay, well, I'm trying to call the IRS. And then by the time you actually get in with the IRS, they're like, okay, well, they're asking, if it's personal or business. And I'm like, well, it's an LLC and it's tied in with my personal taxes because that's what happens. You can do that with your LLC. You can file the LLC stuff with your personal taxes, and it is on the site that I'm using attached to my 1099 personal taxes. But the IRS is insisting that it's a corporate thing and that it's not tied in with my personal taxes. They're like, so you need to do this, and we're transferring you over to this. So I'm like, I get into the corporate thing, and they're like, no, this is personal stuff. You're an LLC. You're able to file this. So they transfer me back over, And so like I'm like, man, I just need help, with these questions. I just need the help with these questions. And they're like, well, we have a free tax prep service that we provide for people that are low income. I'm like, fantastic, please, like I'd be more than happy to contact these people. Let me, and they give me, it's called the VITA program, and it's free tax prep service from the IRS, and they're in major city locations, and I'm out in the middle of nowhere, so the closest one's like an hour and a half away. Fine, if that's what I have to do, I will go do that. I will, summon up enough, whatever, take my anxiety stuff to be able to go out and do that if I need to. So, and as long as you make under, I think it's 64,000, you can use this service, which is great. That sounds awesome. That's the 64,000 is, mark is actually pretty reasonable, considering, for to consider poverty line. That's pretty good. So, and I make well under that. Again, the disability at 600 a month, and then I literally only made, like, profit wise less than 100 last year on my business. So, you know, so I'm like, yes, okay, fine, I'll be able to get help here. So I call the place and I'm like, okay, can I get help with this, please? And they're like, oh yeah, we can help you with the personal things. I'm like, oh, cool, because and I start explaining, I'm having such a hard time. They're like, do you need help with your personal taxes? I'm like, kind of, not really. I mean, I kind of got my personal part of that part technically done, but I'm having problems with the Schedule C. And they're like, well, wait. Schedule C, they're like, that's business. And I'm like, yeah, but it's tied in with my personal stuff. I'm low income, I'm disability. I just need help understanding this. Is there any way you guys can, help me, understand this and everything? And they're like, well, we can't help with business stuff. It's a conflict of interest. You're going to either have to use TurboTax or an actual tax preparing place, which is, again, having to pay for it. And I'm like, I can't afford that, though. I'm like, I'm well under this income line. I'm like, I don't understand. You guys can't just help me. I just need help. I'm like, even if you guys can't help me fill out these taxes, like to do them, like file them for me, I'm like, can you just help me understand these things? Like, all I need is, like, I just need some questions asked. They're like, conflict of interest, we can't do that, and whatever. And I'm like wondering, it's like, okay, well, what do I do then? Well, they're like, well, you can just, we can give you the number to the IRS, like to contact them for this other place or whatever that's meant to help business stuff, and I'm like, okay, and that one was like, no, we can't help you. This is personal stuff. And like, literally, I full circle back to my starting point with the IRS. And I'm not understanding, one is like, how is it a conflict of interest to help me, like an actual tax preparing service to help me just because it's a free service? How is that a conflict of interest to help me? But it's not a conflict of interest for an actual service that I would have to pay money for to help me file my taxes. I'm like, how is that a conflict of interest then if one is not and one is the other, and the only difference between the two is paying? I'm like, this is not set up for people that are low income, like to try and start a business. Like, this country is meant, like, if you are poor or disabled and you have a very minimal income and you're just trying to dig yourself out of things, like, unless you have some sort of help or some sort of thing that doesn't cost money to, whatever, and you actually can understand all of these tax things, or you are able to have a friend help you with it or something like that, you're doomed to fail, basically. And it's just like, because even if you can get going with your business and stuff, like, once tax season comes, you're fucked. Because, like, I can't, like, it's a conflict of interest apparently for anybody to fucking help me. And it's like, I'm like, but the way they're saying it is as if I'm like full on just wanting someone to do the whole entire thing for me. And I keep trying to reiterate to these places, I don't like, I'm like, if you can't help do the like prepare the taxes and send them off for me, that's fine. I'm like, I've even tried to specify that. I'm like, that's fine. I just absolutely just need someone to answer these questions for me. I just need to understand what it wants from me, so I know what information that I have, that I need to put in there. I'm like, I don't, we're like, well, we can't help you fill it out. And I'm like, no, I don't need you to help me actually fill it out. I just need you to help me understand, what it wants. Like, what is it asking me here? Like, it's asking me, what I had mentioned earlier. One of the things was, it was like the costs, and I'm like, this is above that question. It's asking about inventory, like, if I don't technically have the inventory, do I, even bother with that part? Like, what does it want from me? And then below that, I'm like, does this mean it's only talking about inventory, or is this talking about all the costs for the business in general that I have? There should be no conflict of interest. Just explaining to me, oh yeah, that's all it wants is the stuff for inventory only. Oh yeah, no, you can put in all of your costs incurred for your business there, and then that's it. Just explaining to me what this even means. And then the full circle that I made, I finally was like, okay, I'm going to do this again, try and reiterate. I don't want someone to fill out this taxes for me, so it's not a conflict of interest. I just want help answering these questions, like telling me what it wants. What do I do? And so the lady is talking, and she's like trying to like be a little patient. I'm frustrated at this point. I'm not yelling at anybody or anything, but I am talking, trying to, because I've had so many people either misunderstand me and think I'm wanting them to fill this stuff out, or they're just using that as an excuse so they don't have to sit there for who knows how long and answer my questions. Like, I'm frustrated because, so far this whole entire day, I've had people misunderstand. So I'm like trying to, again, that's another autism thing too, is like, you're so used to people misunderstanding you, so you over explain. So I'm doing this, and this lady's getting a little bit exasperated with me. She starts eventually, because she was actually misunderstanding me at first too, and then she starts actually understanding. She's like, okay, well, let's look at the forms that we have on the IRS. Sorry, we do have forms for telling you how to do it. And I'm like, yeah, I've looked at those, and they have tax preparer lingo. I'm like, I cannot understand what it's talking about. And so she's not taking my word for it. And so she's like, no, it's fine. We, look it up. And she looks at it, and she's reading these, and she literally just reads it out verbatim for me. And I'm like, yeah, what does that mean? She's like, well, she can't answer me. She has no idea what it means. She has no idea what it means either, and she works for the IRS. Like, how are you expecting normal people to do this, let alone somebody that's disabled, or, yeah, especially, like, since disabled doesn't just include physical disabilities, there's mental ones too. And while I'm mentally fine enough to, like, do, like, basic things and stuff, I don't understand this shit. Like, and I'm just getting so frustrated. And it's like, if you can't understand it, how do you expect me to? And I'm like, what do I do? Like, she's like, well, I don't know what to do. She's like, well, there's not really anything I can do. The other thing we have is like an automated thing that just explains stuff out for you. You pick numbers. And I'm like, this is going to be horrible. I'm like, you know what? Fine. If I can do that, that's fine. If this is the last resort, I'll try that. And I never got around to it because I was on forever hold for some reason for an automated thing. Like, for some reason, like, the IRS and, like, government likes some of the stuff, they like to shut down completely, like their website and certain services, even if they're automated and don't require an actual person. They'll shut it down after like 5 o'clock or 4:30 or something like that. And, and by the time I'd gotten all the way around to doing this and she transferred me over, it was 5 o'clock. And so I'm like on forever hold, and I'm like, God damn it. So I'm going to have to try and do this again tomorrow, and we'll see what this automated service is like. But I about guarantee it's going to have just the verbatim, the instructions on the IRS website. And it's going to be even worse because I won't be able to actually ask this automated service questions. All I'll have is just a set thing that I can push numbers for. Like, it'll only have set options. And so it's just like, what am I supposed to do? I am trying so hard to fill out my taxes. I need to fill out my taxes. And even if I don't need to fill out the absolutely need to fill out the personal thingy or the business part because I didn't make enough, it's not fair that I'm not allowed technically. Like basically, I mean I'm allowed, but like with all the like how hard it is and stuff, it's like I'm not gonna be allowed to like take advantage of the thing that I should be able to take advantage of with getting tax credit back from all the stuff that I spent to like get started with this business. Like it's not fair. Like what the hell? I'm trying so hard. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, you know? Like and I'm trying not to be a leech on society. I'm trying not to do all this stuff. I don't want to sit around and do nothing and be stuck at home and what I'm trying to find ways for me to work with my own disability because companies aren't held properly like held responsible properly enough to be forced to like work with disabled people or whatever. And it's just like, so I'm not able to hold down normal work, so I'm trying to find something for myself that I can do, and it's just like impossible. So what to do. Things need to change, and the IRS really needs to go through and actually do a layman's term instructions for all of their stuff, not just personal taxes, but business taxes as well, especially when it comes to the LLC stuff, because LLCs are usually owned by single little people, or a very small crew of people that are just normal people and don't have like company lawyers and tax preparers and stuff like that, and oftentimes when they're getting started don't have the money to pay a tax preparer. So it's just like, can we not just at least get layman's term instructions please, or even just have like a freaking service that is there that can actually just answer your questions that you have for taxes. Like, doesn't even have to, like, can you just include that in your Vita program? Or if it is included, can you like make them actually do it? Because like they're not doing it, and it's like, why is it also a conflict of interest for them to help a small business that's making well under that 64,000 mark and is on that poverty line? Why is it a conflict of interest for you to help them with their personal and even help them with personal taxes if the business one is attached to it? Like, they can't even help with just the personal part because I have my business one attached to it because it's an LLC. Like, they're refusing. And it's like, how is this a conflict of interest? That's completely unreasonable and stupid, because like the only difference between them, because they're tax preparers, they're actual tax preparers, and they just do it for free. It's a free program. And the only difference between them and like H&R Block is money. And this program is supposed to be helping people that don't have money to be paying those things. It's supposed to help so that people can actually do these things and pay their fair share of taxes. All this stuff that these people that complain about poor people and leeches on society complain about, like the government, these programs you complain about and everything also just like don't help properly. That's why like we're stuck in these situations. Like we can try as hard as we can, but we're literally blocked, being like, nah, you can't do this. We can't help you with this, even though that's what we're meant to do. We can't help you with this. And it's the same with disability. It is very well known that disability will just immediately reject you for the first time. So you have to actually fight really hard for it, even if you're like a freaking completely unable to move, you're paralyzed from the fucking neck down and stuff. It's, like some people just, it's just so hard to do that. And then like to file for disability and get it, and then it's like they have so many restrictions like that will actually keep you in poverty, and you're not allowed to even save the amount nowadays needed to be able to like move somewhere or anything, like to even the recommended amount that you should have in savings in case of an emergency. You're not allowed to have that if you're on disability whatsoever. And it's like you're not allowed, like especially the one that I'm on, you're not allowed to get married or you lose disability completely, which puts all of that burden onto your partner. And even if you're not married, like if you live together, heaven forbid you live together, they still, for some reason, it's like you're not allowed to get married, but we're still going to treat you like you're married. whenever it suits us, so that we're going to not give you a certain amount. So you're kind of stuck leeching off your partner and stuff and being a burden to them. So then you're likely to either end up with an ended relationship, likely stuck at either ended relationship because the person understandably gets frustrated because they're having to handle all of the financial and whatever burden of everything, and even if they're not married to you, or you're stuck in an abusive relationship because you can't get out because you can't afford it, like you're just stuck. And it's just like all these programs that are meant to help aren't actually doing what they're supposed to, and then they're just sucking up the taxpayer dollars and barely actually doing anything for the people they're meant to. So like you guys that are complaining about these programs, you're complaining about the wrong people. And ending the programs isn't like the main issue. Like having them there isn't the main issue. It's the fact that they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Because if you actually, a lot of people that are like disabled and stuff like that, if you actually helped, like if they actually helped properly the way they're supposed to, these programs, this VITA program, if it helped the way it's supposed to, people could actually pull themselves out of these situations with that bit of help that they get. Like I could actually, after a couple of years, get off of disability very likely, because I'll have worked my business up and everything, and can fill out my, take advantage of my tax credits. So once I start getting profit enough to have to be charged taxes, the tax credit will take care of it for the first year or two, so I can keep going, and not have like all this stuff, it's just like, but these programs literally, like, they're like, we're here to help you. But in the background, behind, their backs, like, no, we're not here to help you. We're here to appear like we're here to help you, so that, we look like we're, as a government, we're doing what we're supposed to by helping our people, but we're not actually helping our people. A lot of the money's going to other places that it's not supposed to be going to, and then, like, not the people. When I say not supposed to be going to, I mean government officials and other places where like funds are allocated that are just like, these things are just like, they're not actually helping people like they're supposed to. And if they did, we actually wouldn't end up with as many people on these programs, and we'd have more thriving people. We'd have more businesses creating more jobs eventually, because small businesses that are thriving turn into big businesses. We'd have more inventions that help people. We'd have all sorts of stuff if we actually like not just implemented these programs, but like made sure that they worked properly. Like we actually held the government accountable for making them work properly. But sadly, they don't get shit done anyways, because they're too busy arguing between each other, and the poor and disabled people and stuff are the ones that suffer, because we get blamed for being poor and disabled and not being able to just do all of it on our own and stuff, and needing that little bit of help. But that's what a government is for. It's to help its people, especially when its people are struggling. Like it's meant to help. And proper help makes it possible for you to actually eventually not need that help. And while you get the outlier to where, yeah, some people occasionally would take advantage of that and not use it properly, that's such an insanely small amount of people in comparison to those that are actually wanting to use it properly and need it properly, and would pull themselves out of that situation with that little bit of help. They're not able to, because it's not working properly. So it's just, yeah. And I'm so stuck, and I'm so frustrated right now because I can't get my damn taxes done. That's all I want to do, my fucking taxes. And I just can't, I'm not understanding what it wants from me. And I have all my information. I feel like literally, like, this might fall down because this thing is attached to my desk right now, but like, I'm keeping all of my records and shit, like even by hand, because I don't do well with digital stuff. Like I said, I know what I need, and I know how to do certain things to help myself do them the way a normal person would. It just looks a little more complex to a normal person, but for me, that's how I'm able to actually get it done at all. Otherwise I can't. So it's just like, I do my records by hand. I keep track of everything, like everything. I have all my tax stuff. I have my business, like the I number and everything, like all the stuff I need to do the taxes myself. I just need to know what I need to put where, like what are these questions asking me? Like, what is these terms then are not normal people terms. These are tax preparer terms. Like, we shouldn't be forced to use a tax preparer. We should be able to fill these out ourselves. And at this point, it's not just me being mentally disabled. Normal people, a lot of normal people can't fill out their own taxes because it's so fucking complicated and you don't understand it, and it shouldn't be like that, especially when the IRS could technically do it themselves, and they technically do, because if you don't fill them out right, they know. If you owe them money and you fill out your shit out wrong to where you think you don't owe them money, they come after you because they know they already did the tax shit. And they just make it to where you have to do it so that if they owe you money and you accidentally slip up and don't get that right, then they don't give it to you because, it's not important for them to make sure they give you the money they owe you, just that you give them the money you owe them. So it's just like, if they can do it themselves, like, why aren't they doing it? First of all, that'd create a lot of jobs anyways, but even if they didn't want to do that, at least make it to where people can do it by themselves properly. Like, explain, like, these stupid help sheets that are just for people that actually know the tax preparer lingo is not helpful. It's not fair. It doesn't set anybody up for success with filling out their taxes, even people that aren't on the poverty level or aren't disabled, like just normal middle class, upper class, like anybody that wants to do it themselves and not have to pay hundreds of dollars to a tax preparer. What are you gonna do? You don't understand the stuff, or if you understand the very basics, which I can do the very basics of personal tax. Like I said, I used to fill out I'd go and get the form from the library because I've always kind of been in that poverty line, type thing. But like, I would go get the form printed out at the library and I would fill that out myself. It'd take a couple of days for me to get it filled out because I, again, a little bit slow with it, but I'd be able to actually fill it out because, it was just very, very basic. But if there were extra things that you can get on your tax return, even as low income, I wouldn't get it because that wasn't on, like those extra little things that you can do to that rich people and whatever, anybody that can have a tax preparer and everything, like pay for that, can do. Like, that stuff is not on those basic forms. It's not there. And if it is, like that spot is there, or you can fill that out, like put that stuff in another spot that you've already filled out for the basics, it doesn't explain on those instructions that you can put those things there. And so it's not made, like a lot of our stuff is not made for normal people to succeed in this country. It's made for rich people and like upper middle class people, corporations and stuff to succeed. So it really needs to change. I'm just very frustrated. But yeah, if you know of any like actual websites or like any like programs or anything that actually like just explains what, like in layman's terms, what these things mean, especially for like business taxes and stuff like Schedule C and everything, please give me links because I've looked all over the place and I've even like made phone calls and the IRS can't even help me like find places that can help. So if they can't even do it, and that's what they're there for, is to like these phone numbers, they're there to get the IRS to help you. Like, if they don't even know how to help you, or you don't even know like all the places that they have options for you to get help, can't help you, like, how am I supposed to find help on my own? It's just like, so, and I've tried, so it's just like, yeah, that's it. That's all I'm gonna do is end up going in circles with this whole rant. So I hope not a lot of other people are having the same problem, but I feel like, they probably do. So yeah.